Good morning, here's Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Wednesday the 6th of December. It was a fairly quiet day on the US market yesterday with the S&P more or less closing unchanged, so not much to say there really. There's still upside potential, but it is a bit of a wait-and-see position, and we need a little bit of a correction to move higher, but it seems like it's dragging out a little bit. Here we have the Nasdaq 100 once again testing the upper part of this gap area here that is key, but also testing the previous resistance. I kept it in there because I think it's interesting. So we have a little bit of, we could have a little bit of a range trading between these two levels, 15,744 and the previous peak here at 16,166. Again, as I mentioned, we don't want to see it closing the gap. Then there is much more potential, downside potential to around 16,000. If it starts trading back above 16,000, yeah, well, then there's room up to much higher levels towards 16,500. In Europe, parties really on here. We have EUROSTOXX 50. Very close to its all-time high here at 44.91 and a change. Getting really close to here. RSI indicating, despite being a little bit overbought, it is indicating that there is more upside for EUROSTOXX 50, but it is a bit stretched. An index that is really stretched is the DAX index. Its RSI is above 82 this morning. Yesterday it was above just below 81.95, as we can see down there. Really stretched, and I think within a couple of days we will have at least a short-term top and reversal pattern in place, and then we should see a correction. But there is potential for higher levels in towards the end of the year, going into 2024. As we can also see here, we have the weekly RSI back above 60, so there should be further upside potential. Amsterdam index also higher, but not close to the peak over here just yet. There's some resistance at 781, a little bit stressed on the RSI, but it did cancel the RSI divergence, indicating we are likely to move higher also after even if we get a correction. Belgium market, which has been lacking a little bit, actually opened above the 36-32 resistance this morning, and is currently above the 200 moving average. There is more room, upside potential here. 37.28, where we have some strong resistance, could be tested also definitely before year end, and there's still a few days to that. The CAC index currently testing 74.05 resistance. Really interesting level to say the least. If it can break that, well, then we're also looking at the previous peak here at 7,526. It's not all-time high. It was actually a bit higher here back in the days. But also very strong uptrend. RSI bullish and no divergence, but we are still ripe for a little bit of a correction at least. We have the SMI from Switzerland, currently above the 10,963, and the falling trend line here, I think we could see it at 11,068, where we have some strong resistance. We also have the 200 moving average coming down, adding a little bit of pressure up from the other side. But again, similar to the other markets, RSI is in positive sentiment, and there is no divergence, indicating we could see higher levels in towards the end of the year. Euro dollar lower overnight, taking out the minor support at 108.25, likely to test the stronger support here at 107.60-62, where we have the 100 movings, but it's declining, which is quite interesting. Where we have the 200 up here, that was actually rising. There is potential down to the 61.8 retracement just above 107. That could be tested. If it does, then I think the correction is over, and we will move higher on euro dollar. We will at least have a rebound So quite interesting times, really around that level there. Very quickly on Euro Sterling, that had experienced this sell-off. We talked about it earlier this week. There is potential down to 85 on the Euro Sterling right there. Cable still a little bit to the weaker side after being rejected here, and I also formed this top and reversal pattern here with the doji. It's not the most perfect one, but still just below the resistance and around the 61.8 retracement. I think we could see a test of 125.46, possibly dipping to around 125. What we can do, and let's just do it while we're at it, see, okay, what was the potential levels there. So we could have a move down to around the 38.2 retracement at 124.80 before we see a rebound again and the uptrend to resume. The yen pairs have been fairly quiet, especially the dollar yen, after finding a little bit of support here at the 38.2 retracement, 146.30. Trying to get back above the 100 moving average, which could be interesting, but we are to the weaker side. There is a negative sentiment. We are below the cloud, as you can see here, so it is a little bit to the weaker side, and we could dip to 145, 144.75. I'm not 100% convinced we will do that, but if it takes out the low here from the 4th of December, which is 146.22, then expect a sell-off down to that level. Euro yen testing the cloud area just around the 100 moving average. We have some strong support here at 157. In 69, that could be tested. We also have this rising trend line. It's not the strongest one, it has to admit that, but still, it's merely a guideline. But we could see a test of this level here. If it does, then I think the correction is over, and we will try moving a little bit higher, not back to these days here, definitely. But if it does take out 157.69 level, well, then there is room down to 155.50, 55, where there's some strong support. Aussie yen seems to be bouncing just above the 55 moving average and just above the support around 96.10. We're still in a positive sentiment, haven't broken out below the 40 RSI level, so still holding on nicely and could bounce a little bit back higher, but in the broader picture, I think we are range bound between the 96 and the 98.5. Aussie dollar that really got hammered yesterday, bouncing a little bit today, trying to get back up above the 65.95 level here. We are still in an uptrend, so maybe this was just a correction, really, but don't expect much from it. I mean, there is room up to 67 and 68, but it will be a struggle, I believe, but quite volatile there. Finally, the dollar index. Dollar index is above the falling trend line here, but there's some strong resistance at 104.40. I don't think we will get higher than that, and also if we add the Fibonacci retracement, there we are very close to the 38.2 retracement at 104.14. So I think it will run out of steam around this level, and then we will see the bears coming in, taking back control. Moving on to gold, very interesting move again. Overnight, we had the sell-off here from the other day to test the 61.8 retracement at 2009. We also have a support line around that level, 2010. So we almost touched the lowest level of 2010, a little bit lower than that. I think we will see a bounce possibly up to around 2057, which is the 38.2 retracement of this sell-off here. But we could then be range bound between 2009 and 2057 for quite some time, possibly maybe getting up to around 2070, but I'm not quite so sure about that. However, if we do break below 2009, well, then we will see levels down to around 1975, I'm afraid, where we have the 786 retracement. The silver touched the falling trend line here yesterday, trying to get back a little bit. What is interesting is RSI is still positive. I think we will have a bounce back here the next couple of days towards 25, maybe higher, but I'm not quite sure we'll get back up. But I mean, RSI does indicate we will see higher levels above the 26 or the peak here from the other day. So hang tight, it can still be a rough ride and quite volatile. Also on copper, trying to get back above the 382. It's merely a pivot point really than a support and resistance. Quite interestingly, we are in an uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows, higher high, and so on. But we have the RSI also still in the positive sentiment. There's no divergence. We should see a move higher towards 400 towards the year end, possibly. WTI crude oil to the weaker side has broken below support at 72.65. Downtrend continuing, but it is also weakening, as we can see here. But there's not really much strong support until these lows here back from June, around 67 and a half. So we could slide lower, and also we have the moving averages that they actually formed this death cross here. Sounds really morbid, but it is what it is, and the underlying sentiment is bearish, and the same picture more or less on the Brent oil, testing the 77 support area and could slide lower. And then we're actually back to these levels here before we had this crazy rally up and now collapsing. The finally, as usual, the US 10-year yields actually did close below 420 yesterday, continuing its downtrend. There should be room to around 4.5, 4.78 something. I'm not quite sure. We could spike down to 4%, but I'm not quite sure about that. And then I think we'll see a nice bounce in yields. All right, that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening. Have a nice day and happy trading.